everyone, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is going to be another part of my social work series where I talk about a social work topic since I am a social worker and hopefully teach you guys something new, get you guys fired up about something, I don't know. So let's get into it. We are talking about female representation in media, and more specifically, the Bechdel test. Now, what is the Bechdel test? The Bechdel test is a test for movies and media created by Alison Bechdel in 1985. What is a Bechdel test? It is very simple. A movie or a show or just media has to have two female characters. They have to have names, and they have to talk to each other about something other than a man. They can even talk about super girly shit like shopping, makeup, clothes. They could talk about, or they could talk about engineering, math, science, cats. Doesn't matter. They just can't talk about a man, and they both have to have names. I know that sounds pretty simple, right? You are going to be appalled at the amount of movies that do not pass the Bechdel test. Okay, so let me go through a few. Some movies are obvious because they're dude movies. So the entire Lord of the Rings series does not pass the Bechdel test. Iron Man does not pass the Bechdel test. Spider-Man does not pass the Bechdel test, even though I love Spider-Man. So like, those movies don't pass. Fine. But also, there are some, what some would deem as chick flicks that don't even pass the Bechdel test. For example, Crazy Stupid Love. I love that movie. I own that movie. And it never occurred to me that two female characters don't talk to each other about anything other than Ryan Gosling. What the fuck? Like, they don't have any other aspect of their personalities other than wanting to secure this man, or at least the aspect of their personalities isn't getting translated in their conversations. Also, The Blind Side, super progressive movie, I think, doesn't pass the Bechdel test. It doesn't pass. Sorry, what? Doesn't pass the Bechdel test. Also, 500 Days of Summer. Yeah, that's right. That doesn't pass the Bechdel test either. Cute indie, like progressive, romantic movie, whatever, that we all love, doesn't pass the Bechdel test. Okay? Also, Marley and Me does not pass the Bechdel test. Seriously, gotta kill the dog, and you don't even have any good female representation in that movie? Spoiler alert, by the way, sorry. Those are just a few examples. You can find comprehensive lists online of movies that do not pass the Bechdel test. So is the Bechdel test perfect? No, because there are some movies that are horrible to women that still pass the Bechdel test. For example, Twilight passes the Bechdel test because Bella and Anna Kendrick, whoever that character's name is, talk about how people from Arizona should be tan, and they have that conversation, and so that makes it pass the Bechdel test. But Twilight is super horrible to women. I know I'm gonna get some Twilight fans angry in my comments. I'm sorry. Edward's emotionally abusive, and Bella puts up with it for 4 movies, and she does not have a personality besides being submissive to him. And you could take that up with Stephenie Meyer because I don't even want to hear it. Okay. So there are movies that pass the test that still aren't good to women. Or they have movies that don't pass that are still pretty good to women. For example, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone does not pass the Bechdel test. You couldn't fix that, J.K. Rowling? Come on. It was written by a fucking woman. Like, strong female characters in that movie, it treats women pretty well, but the only conversation between two women in that movie is Hermione and Professor McGonagall have a conversation after Harry and Ron saved Hermione in the bathroom. So Hermione's like, if it weren't for Harry and Ron, I would be dead. So she still talks about Harry and Ron and talks about how they saved her life. So they don't even have a conversation about, like, I don't know, anything about how Hermione's super fucking smart or how McGonagall's a fucking badass. Like, they don't talk about that at all. So yes, another problem with the Bechdel test is that it's super binary. It is not very trans inclusive. It's just to women. It doesn't really specify if it's just femme identifying people or biologically women. Like it's not very trans inclusive. So that is another issue with it. So it's not perfect, but it is a good starting point. You want to focus? Oh. I get super out of breath when I do these social work topic videos because I get like wound up, heated. Anyways, so why is this important? Because female representation is important. It's really annoying that even movies that are written or directed by women still don't have the requirements to pass this test. It's so easy. It's so easy. Just two female characters they could each say one sentence to each other about anything. Belle, can you stop? She's fucking around in her litter box, sorry. Anyways, but if we had the same rule for men, how many movies are just like a sea of men fixing problems, talking to each other about, like barely ever talking to each other about women. They're talking to each other about like saving the world and shit or whatever, beer, I don't know. What do dudes talk about? Anyways, so it's important because more and more movies have been making an effort to pass the Bechdel test. Directors and writers have caught wind of this and they are trying to add female characters, even if it's just to get the credit for passing the test. That still means more female characters, more female representation. So that is a good start, but it's still not a great place to be. We still need to get to the point where the test is obsolete because we have so many wonderful, smart, amazing female characters, but we're just not there. Also, the reason why it's probably not very trans inclusive is because there are no trans people in movies except for specific LGBT media for the most part. So that is my social work rant of this week. Look up comprehensive lists of what passes and does not pass the Bechdel test because it's really, really interesting. Also, like, test movies as you watch them. Keep this in the back of your brain as you watch movies and think, like, try to look for conversations that would pass the Bechdel test. It's harder than you think. It's actually ridiculous. Jurassic Park is one of my favorite movies and it does pass, but by the skin of its goddamn teeth. Like, it's one small little conversation where like a woman like or the little girl like shouts at the woman about something and I'm like, okay, it passes, thank God, because I love this movie. All the dinosaurs are women, but that doesn't count, unfortunately. So yeah, it's really interesting. It's a good place to start if you want to know more about it. There are very many resources on the internet, and also one of my favorite podcasts right now is the Bechdel Cast. It's with two comedian women and they talk about movies and how women are portrayed in those movies. And that's it. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you for watching. Give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Please don't give me a thumbs down if you're a Twilight fan. I've seen all of them. We all have our guilty pleasures, you know. Yeah, subscribe. And if you have any recommendations for topics for social work videos, please comment below. And I love you all.